to Home Expat, your guide to living, working, and thriving abroad. We're going to be discussing, it's a bit of an unusual topic for me. However, it is a topic of interest right now, and it's actually a topic that is usually somewhat apart. Relationships abroad is usually a topic um, that I usually would normally dedicate one of a 7 week session to. But in finding out more about this and hearing about this, I'm beginning to think that perhaps it's something that needs to be covered not just on OMEXPAT, but also perhaps we should also dive a little deeper into this from time to time. So today's topic is the Danish Deception, how a fake prince stole her heart and $500,000, and that is US dollars. Again, the topic is the Danish Deception, how a fake prince stole her heart and 500,000. Now, before we get into that, I've not made a video in quite some time. I actually made a video on starting over. It's a topic I kind of mentioned before that I wanted to cover, and you will not believe it, but I spent almost 58 minutes recording this. And then when I listened back to it, I'm not sure if it had to do with the fact that my PC battery was low. However, it just did not sound good, and I thought there's no way I can upload this video. So apologies for being away for a little while. I thought about doing a live show, but then I figured that I really wanted to do the live show after the starting over video. So here we are. We're covering an entirely different topic, and I believe it's, in part it has to do with this topic will likely not take 58 minutes. However, it is a topic we'll dive deep into. It's something that a lot of coaches do not really cover. I cover some aspects of overseas relationships as a part of a coaching package that I offer. However, it is something that I think a lot of women that are dating someone from overseas need to take seriously. So let's get a little more so into it, and then after the holidays, I will get back to kind of regular programming, and we'll cover the starting over at a later age, that particular video, starting over in a new area. So there has been, a video actually just showed up as a recommended video on YouTube. And I was like, it mentioned Danish. And I'm like, okay, I live in Europe. I live in Northern Europe. So that caught my eyes. And when I looked a little deeper, it said the Danish Deception. And I was like, what is this really about? And within the first 5 minutes of listening to I would say within the first 10 minutes of listening to the video, certain things sound a little familiar. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what it's about. And unfortunately, a beautiful, intelligent young woman that has a lot going for her were taken by a deception, by a scam. So let's go dive a little deeper into what it's about, if you have not heard about it. This was a wonderful and just a nice young lady who was not even looking for love. She was visiting Croatia, beautiful country, by the way, and she met a dashing, tall, handsome Danish guy. and she was not really looking for love. And but nevertheless, I mean, he was very charming, and I know a lot of uh, YouTubers are they're covering this topic, and what they're missing is that this young lady, she did appeared on The Bachelor, and I think she left The Bachelor for whatever reason, and The Bachelor found out that he actually um, was not, he did not really want a heterosexual relationship in the end. Anyway, but she had left The Bachelor. So she was not looking for a relationship. She mentioned in the video that she made, and I think on TikTok, that she read she never really had a serious relationship. Perhaps she was really focused on work and on study, and someone at her age, coming from the type of immigrant background that she was from, that she is from. I mean, I wasn't surprised at that. She just wanted to work and study, make her parents proud, and she just never put everything into relationships. So she met this guy, and the guy love bombed her. And by the way, her name is Oyika, um, Oyika, and former reality contestant on The Bachelor, as mentioned. So she never really experienced like this type of love bombing from this man that she met. And she didn't really say his age, but his name is Martin Anderson. um, and she was in a multi-year relationship with him. But there were a lot of twists and turns, and he kind of misled her. According to her and her recount of what really happened, she said he presented himself as a Danish prince. So he was a Danish prince, and then out of the blue, without anyone asking, he also had mentioned that he was an Olympic athlete, and he actually donated his trophies to charity. So she thought he was kind, and he was loving, he was charming, he was handsome, and also he also said he was a successful tech professional. She was into tech as well, and she was also a realtor as well. So she mentioned she was making over $150,000 at her main job, which is in tech. Um, and it's really unfortunate in that this wonderful, this beautiful, intelligent young lady, she came and she's sharing her story, and there are many that are just going at it with her. She's responded in the most polite and sophisticated way. She said, "I don't care what you said. I'm just gonna share my story." But there are many people are saying you're intelligent. What happened? And the whole thing. And I just hope, before we go forward, I hope that she would hear this video. I doubt it, because I don't have a large following. But I do hope that she actually will continue to have the strength, because just reviewing this, this guy said he was a Danish prince, a Olympian, he was successful in tech. It really brought something to mind, and she was in tech, and it's likely that he said he was in tech because he wanted to form that association with her. Anyway, over time, this person actually started to ask for money. And it was always an issue in terms of he needed like temporary help for this and help for that. He also mentioned that he was not just in tech, but he also mentioned that he was closing on some houses that he was supposed to have been. He was a realtor, and he was closing on homes, and then something would really happen. And this is very interesting because she actually was in tech and she was also a realtor. So she may not have known at the time, but this is something that a lot of the love scammers actually would do. They usually try to form a relationship or something that is familiar with you, or something you might have said to them. They also try to show that they have likeness to not just your values, but usually to what you do. So she was a realtor, and he claimed he was into investing in homes. That turned out not to have been true, by the way. He's never owned a home, but he mentioned he had 3 apartments in Denmark. And he also mentioned he was in tech. And it appeared he was not really even in tech. But she was successful at both her jobs, tech and as a realtor. Now, he did started to gamble away, but before getting into that, I wanted to also, there is a part of this that was missing. He wined and dined her throughout Europe. He invited her um, to a lot of these, to vacations, lavish vacations. And I do believe, she may not have taken note of that, but the first very lavish vacation that he invited her to, it was like he said he was going to Monaco, and it was work related also. And she may not have been aware of this, but chances are her viewing, this very lavish and opulent hotel where she stayed at, both of them stayed at. It was likely paid by his job, but she was not aware of that. So she started to, she had gotten sick on that particular trip, the first trip, and he helped to take care of her, and she fell even deeper in love with him. Long story short, they got married after a whirlwind romance. This young lady introduced him to her family. They went to Africa. She introduced him to her parents' family there. And, they were doing well. And he asked for her hand in marriage. They got married. And then shortly after, even before the marriage, just little things started to not make sense to her. He started to ask for money to take care of the properties that needed to have, that was for sale, but needed work to have been done on the properties. And she felt that, being that they are married or about to get married, they later got married, that it was a partnership. And so she needed to carry him at those moments where he was not viable, perhaps, or had financial challenges. And that was the first thing. When she actually had said that, I realized, I was like, wow. Even before hearing about this story, I do dedicate, if anyone purchases a package deal for coaching, one of the 7 sessions I dedicate just to dating, the cultural differences, expectations, and all of that is covered in a full session. And when she talked about a partnership, I knew immediately that there was a reason why this person had chosen her. She had never lived in Europe, and she did not have familiarity in marital or even relationship culture. And then on her side, it's likely that she may not have known anyone who might have spoken with her about that dating culture. And perhaps she just never took expat coaching sessions. I wish she was one of my clients. That would have not, it would have been a mistake that she would not have made. For many of you who may not be aware of this, partnership, or the view of a partnership in a relationship and in a marriage, it presents differently in Europe. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Um, this partnership, there's a saying in the U.S. In some areas of the U.S., they'll say that it's like, look, you're a ride or die type of person, and in the U.S., in the UK to some extent, I do think it's mostly in Anglo-Saxon cultures, whereby you do have this sense of, we are a team. We are a team against the world. This is a partnership. I will be ride or die for you. That does not exist in Northern Europe. It does not exist in most parts of Europe. I think to some extent it may exist somewhat in Southern Europe. However, there is another YouTuber that I listen to, and she resides in Italy. And she even had said it doesn't really, I mean, she did not say those words, but from the feedback that she's given, it appears as though it doesn't really even happen in today's Italy. So that absolutely does not exist. It is a practice that has gotten a lot of American women. A lot of American women have got. They've been taken advantage of because of this concept of this teamwork. Few American men. I met one that was, kind of. He's had some challenges with that. This was years ago. He was heartbroken, thinking, it was the same when he met someone. He had met this person in Sweden, and he had given up I think he was making quite a lot of money as a top photographer, and he moved and he was trying to get work, and it wasn't going as planned, so he went from quite a lot of money, making per film, per photo, to making next to nothing. And then within weeks, the marriage was over. And then he got stuck because he has a child there with this person. And he was heartbroken. He just couldn't believe it. He said he thought everything was fine. He too did not quite understand what the partnership, what it meant, how it's presented in Scandinavia. And in Scandinavia, each person is viewed as their own independent situation. It is independent of each other. It's a rugged kind of independence and self-sufficiency. And that's all good and done. However, if you do decide to move there for someone, and you have some challenges, because there will be a transitional period. For example, if you don't work with a coach like myself that could really help transition you in the right way, you could be quite vulnerable, in not just in your relationships, but also, the relationship itself. The sustainability of the relationship itself, it could be quite a challenge. So she talked about partnership, and she thought they were a team. And because of that, and he played into that, and he played her very well. He led her to believe that he really wanted to take care of her, and she'll see, I'll make you whole, and everything is going to be fine. And she loaned him the money. Unbeknownst to her, he was also borrowing money from friends, and he was borrowing money from family members, from friends, even a very wealthy business guy who was going to mentor him for free. And he still borrowed and ended up gambling all of the money away. As mentioned, they got married, and she continued to help him financially after the marriage. She kept thinking they were a team. And he just kept borrowing, he kept telling and gambling it all away.
Thank you. Stay tuned for part two of the Danish Deception. Thank you.